All right, class. So that's correct. Great intro. I know. Thank you. So I wanted to start today, kind of on a high note, but we are going to be solving equations with fractional coefficients. Okay, and this is, I mean, it's a little bit more difficult than what we've been doing yesterday. Yesterday we were just solving, all those easy one-step equations. We've got to spice it up a little bit. So basically, where we're going to start today, we've got basically the coefficient is going to be a fraction. Okay, so that means we might have a value like 1/4 x, equals, and then we could say like 7 or something like that. Okay, so remember the coefficient, that is the number that is in front of a variable. Okay, that's the coefficient. And so initially, the only way, or the way that we get rid of these fractional coefficients, because we don't like working with fractions, so the way we get rid of it is we just multiply by the reciprocal. And if you remember, like this reciprocal of 1/4 is going to be 4/1. Okay, you just flip it. So for instance, the reciprocal of like 1/3. Okay, again, that could just be 3. You could say the reciprocal of 3/4. That's going to be 4/3. Okay, so just flipping it, and we multiply by the reciprocal. All right, so then when we look, we've got 1/4 x equals -10. All right, we've got our fraction of coefficient here. So that means to solve the equation, we know that the operation that we're doing here, we're multiplying. Okay, and that's an awesome dot that I just put there. So we're going to be multiplying by the reciprocal of 1/4. Okay, now notice we are multiplying by the reciprocal of the coefficient. Okay, this is not the coefficient. Okay, we're not using that. Okay, so we can just erase that. I can never erase it. Okay, we're not using the 10. The 10, we are not multiplying by the reciprocal. We're multiplying by the reciprocal, which is of 1/4. Okay, so we're going to multiply by 4/1. Okay, you can just write 4. But if we remember from yesterday, from our one-step equations, okay, if you do one thing to one side of this equal sign, okay, we need to make sure we stay balanced. Okay, so if we stay balanced, we need to multiply this side by 4/1. Okay, so when these end up multiplying, they cancel each other out. Okay, so we're left with just x on the left side. We'll have the equal sign in the middle. And then on the right side, okay, we take -10 times 4. We end up getting -40, because a negative times a positive, that ends up being a negative. Okay, so we have x equals -40. How could we check this? We could take this value, boom, we plug it right in for x. We can take 1/4 times 40, or 1/4 times -40, okay, and we end up getting -10. Okay, so if we have an example like this, we've got 2/3 x equals 15. Okay, make sure to solve this, the operation, we are going to multiply by the reciprocal. Notice the reciprocal of 2/3. Okay, it's whatever we multiply by the reciprocal of the coefficient, because 15 is not a coefficient here. Okay, so we multiply. We're going to multiply by 3/2. We got to multiply both sides by 3/2. Okay, I'm going to make sure I draw my lines. Okay, bring my equal sign down. So when we multiply by 3/2, again, these just cancel, because you end up getting 6/6, which is 1. Okay, so we have x equals, and then we have our 15 times 3/2. Okay, we can't simplify anything, so we're just going to multiply, and we get 45/2, or whatever that is. What would it be? 24 1/2. Okay. Oh, that's not 24 1/2. What am I doing? Jamie Christmas. It's late. It's late. Boys just won. It's 22 1/2. There we go. So again, multiply by the reciprocal. I'm going to give you some time if my substitute teacher could pause the video right here, and that way you can get some time to work on it. So please pause it. And now, this is going to be the explanation. We've got a -3/4. Negative doesn't matter. Okay, we're going to multiply, okay, by a negative, but it's going to be a -3/4. Okay, draw my lines. We got to multiply both sides. This one's going to be times a negative 4/3. Okay, these cancel each other out. A negative times a negative, that's just a positive. So we're left with x equals, okay, we got negative 8 times negative 4/3. We can't simplify anything, so we're going to end up getting a negative times a negative 32/3, or that's going to be 10 2/3. Okay, so we got to make sure, again, the coefficient, when it is a fraction, okay, you have to multiply by the reciprocal to get rid of that fraction. Okay, and that's how we solve that equation. Okay, so this is where we have a strategy that we can use to get rid of these fractions. Again, we don't like working with fractions, so we can clear. Okay, and we can kind of put that in quotes here. Okay, we're basically clearing fractions in an equation. Okay, so for instance, if we have, I'm going to jump back and forth here. Okay, but we have 2/5 x equals 4/5. All right. The first thing we're going to do, step 1, we're going to find the LCD of the fractions. Okay, the LCD is the least common denominator. All right, you've done this before with adding and subtracting. Okay, and you'll notice, well, hey, this is pretty easy. Okay, we've got 5 and 5. They're already the same denominator. Okay, so you could think, oh, it's perfect. Now, step 2, you're going to multiply everything by that exact LCD. Okay, you're going to multiply everything. So that means we have 2/5. We're going to multiply that by 5. Okay, and then 4/5, boom, multiply it by 5. Okay, you can write 5/1 if you want. All right. So notice when you multiply by this least common denominator, these denominators cancel out. Okay, these both cancel out. Boom, we cancel out here. We end up having, we just have 2x, okay, equals, we cancel out 4. Now that problem looks a lot easier than the first fraction one. Okay, so then boom, we divide by 2. Obviously, what times 2 equals 4? Okay, x equals 2. Okay, so that's one way that we can clear. All right, and then the step 3 is solve like normal. Okay, we solve the 2x equals 4, and that means we're going to solve that one. All right, so go ahead. All right, I'm going to tell you right now, boom, the least common denominator is 8. Okay, go ahead and try to clear this one and then solve it. So if I could have someone pause the video right now, that would be awesome. Okay, hopefully you got it paused and you can, I'll go ahead and solve this. So we've got our least common denominator, which is 8. Okay, we're going to multiply everything. So that means we're taking 3/4 times 8. Again, I like writing 8/1. Okay, we're going to take 5/8 times 8/1, and then we're going to take 1/2 times 8/1. Okay, so we're kind of clearing these fractions. So this first part, okay, I'm going to highlight it. We're going to get in black. Boom, we can cancel, or we can simplify these. Okay, so we simplify, we divide them both by 4. Okay, so we have 1 and 2. Okay, so we basically just take 2 times 3, which is 6. All right, now we have this one. Our 8s can cancel out, and we just get 1. So we're left with, notice we have a subtraction sign here. So we have minus 5x. Okay, then set that equal to, we have boom 1, boom 4. All right, and we're left with 4. This one looks a lot easier. So this is, yeah, it's a 2-step equation, but I'm pretty confident that you can solve it from here. We're going to make sure, we can figure it out. So we've got to think, 6 minus 5x equals 4. Okay, and so that's basically how we can clear a fraction. And yeah, so this one I just wanted to, we don't really have to solve. We haven't really learned 2-step equations yet. In order to solve this, you would end up, you would end up subtracting. You'd subtract 6 from both sides because it's a positive 6. Okay, then we have negative 5x equals negative 2. Okay, then you would end up dividing by negative 5 to get x equals 2/5 because a negative divided by negative is a positive. But we're not getting quite into the 2-step equations yet. I just wanted this one to show that this is how you can clear a fraction. Okay, so you know how to do this. That way it'll help you later on. All right, so overall, looking back on things, okay, we're solving equations with fractional coefficients. All right, and so we've got, You multiply by the reciprocal, which 1/4 x equals 7. Okay, we multiply the reciprocal 1/4 is 4. We did some examples here. Just remember your signs. I like putting the lines down, keeping our balance. And then, yeah, we can clear a fraction by doing that. So, yeah, hopefully you're ready to start the assignment, and we should be good to go from there. So go ahead and start your assignment.